Shut up and sit down. 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 Shut up and sit down.
You're listening to Electrician Live with your host, Paul Abernathy. What up, everybody? Welcome to the stream. My name is Paul Abernathy. Ooh, it looked like Cool Mo D. Paul Abernathy. Put that away. Welcome to Wednesday night's exam prep. Thanks for joining me. And we've got a good slate of questions, still looking scruffy. Slate of questions to look at tonight to get y'all to be involved in it. I cannot determine tonight whether or not the chat feature is working or not, because it just doesn't seem like it's working. So I'm not sure if it's actually working or not, to be honest with you. So if it is working, somebody post something in the chat, let me know. But if the stream, if it's a YouTube issue tonight, the stream thing, the chat's not working. Oh, there we go. Tim, I see Tim in there. Okay. So I guess it's working. Gustavo. Okay. Guess it is working. Maybe it was just me. I'm not sure what was going on with that. Wasn't seeing anything to do with chats or something like that. So, but it looks like they're coming in now and everybody there. What's up? Okay, Brian, thanks for coming. Shadow Roof. Welcome to the exam prep stream. And I'm still excited when I see guys come in here who I know have already passed their exam and still want to come to exam prep. That's awesome. That's dedication right there, okay? That's what I'm talking about. All right. So we'll get a few more people get in here. Mandingo's in the house. There you go. Get a few more in here. Hopefully everybody can hear me. I'm not overmodulated. Tim in the house. Thank you, Tim. Let's see here. A few more people get in, and I will. Not sure if this chat feature is working or not, but we'll give it a shot. Okay. Benjamin's here. Thanks for coming, Benjamin. Mandingo, I see you in the house. Frank, I see you. Brian, Shadow Roof. Gustavo, Tim, everybody, I see you. Benjamin, I see you all in here. So it seems like the chat part is working. So that's good. That is good. All right. So let me close this out because I don't need to monitor that then if it's all working. I don't know what was going on with it. It seems like it's working. All right. We're going to look at some, what's up, Joel? We're going to look at some exam questions tonight. Again, open chat. Again, you're able to bring any questions that you might have that you want to discuss when it comes to exam prep or something that you want to learn about with the NEC when it comes to exam applications. I'm more than happy to discuss them, whether or not you want to talk ranges. If you want to talk calculations in general, the different steps, whatever you feel. This show's kind of geared to what y'all want. And we do this, again, we're going to do this every Wednesday night. Again, I opened it back up to allow more people to be able to come back in it. So bring your questions. I did have a question today. Somebody, Kevin, I believe, posted a question and said that how come, and Kevin's usually here, not here tonight, so usually says box fill or pull box sizing in 314.28. He says, why doesn't it apply to conduit bodies? And actually it does apply to conduit bodies. So it actually states right in the language. So even a conduit body, you're going to have 8 times straight, for example. Then you're going to have the distance from the point where it comes into the conduit body, which is like an LB, and the opposite wall. That's why there's specific length relevant to the trade size of the raceway. But then, of course, you have a removable cover. So then you have those parameters for the opposite of the removable cover. And so generally the manufacturers take care of all this already, as long as you follow the trade size. Okay. So anywho, but that was for Kevin. I don't see Kevin in here. So at the end of the day, it's pretty much already done for us. As long as, again, you follow if it's trade size entry into the LB is trade size 3, then they've already done all the math for you and everything based on trade size 3. Okay. Nothing we want to do brain surgery as far as that goes. Okay. So absolutely, Joel, that should be covered by the manufacturer. It's always good to know because, as you know, questions on exams could come from literally anywhere. So we want to be aware of that because you don't know where they could come from. So always want to be conscious of that. Before for those that follow it, let me put my chairs. Those that follow it, y'all know that usually Jay Grundberg is in here, many times in here with us. Jay was selected to be our new co-host for Electrician Live. Not sure if I told you that or not. So we've tested his system out, and it looks good. Everything looks good. And he ought to bring some good perspectives from the contracting industry. He's still active contractor, so it ought to be pretty cool. But he will be here for the first episode with a co-host. I'm not used to working with co-hosts, so we'll see how that goes. But Jay's a good guy, so he's going to be here this Saturday. And it's going to be an introduction show. He's going to tell us a little bit about him, and we're going to have some every general banter. And then after that, you can stay tuned to Electrician Live's website and see what upcoming episodes we have. I also have an upcoming episode that's going to be coming up that I believe, and I'm going to have to confirm it now because they're hounding me, is one of the presidents or CEOs or somebody that's pretty high up there in Mr. Sparky. They want to be on the show. So I'm going to open that platform and let them be a guest on the show. And ask them a bunch of questions about that. So yeah. Again, congratulations to Jay. He should do really good. And we're going to have some, call-in shows as well as we move forward. Again, I've been planning this 6 months into it. Now it's time to have a co-host. Can't just listen to me every week. I'm a boring individual. So that's what we're going to have. And okay. let's talk exam prep. So hopefully you got your code books, you got them out. I'll go in whatever direction you folks want to go in. I know many of you on there that are studying for an exam or have specific questions. I'm more than happy to answer them on any area of topic that you want. I'm pretty open. What's kind of hard is don't ask us to do a 16-story building or whatnot. This is not the platform to do that. I have to put together something to do that. We just don't have I can't do that on the fly with nothing to show you what I'm doing with it. So, but general things in the code, different questions, more than happy to go over those. If you have any, feel free to, type them out. Fortunately, you got to type them out. I guess you don't have to type them out. If you want to call, I will open the phone line. Let's see here. Let's see here. If I've got that going, I will. Let's see here. Hold on here. There we go. There we go. All right, I'll open that up in case, anybody wants to call in. If I don't miss the call or something, if you have an electrical, question, it's just too difficult to type, you don't want to type it or whatnot, I guess you could call in on the number that's scrolling across the screen. I guess you do if you want. Let me make that smaller. Hold on for a minute, guys. It's a bit annoying. There we go. Okay, sorry about that. All right, so you could do that if you wanted. It's totally up to you. But again, I got to be able to see it, and I'm not really geared to the call tonight, but I'll take a call. I got it. We can do it. That's the number if you want to. But let's keep it exam prep-ish. Okay. All right. So with that said, let's go on and we'll come back and I'll look and see if you have anybody has any questions or anything. But we'll go on and start looking at some exam questions. What does Mandingo say real quick here? Let's see here. Let's try and find where in the code it says that electrical supports can't be shared with plumbing. If that makes sense. Can't have electrical raceways with plumbing, copper, and the same strut support. Well, hold on. Okay. To be honest with you, Mandingo, the code will tell us in certain areas of the code, it'll say, for example, that a raceway, for example, can't support a cable assembly unless it's listed for it. And it'll also say in the code under 300 that I can't support one cable assembly from another cable assembly, right? Ironically, what we would run into would probably be a 110.3b issue where if I'm using a product that's listed for plumbing and I'm trying to support a product that's listed for electrical, then that might be, a 110.3b issue. If it's rigidly attached to the building or the structure, and I'm going to use something like a tie wrap that is, again, identified for its use and listed, then I, could tie wrap to it and support it. But there's nothing in the NEC that's going to say specifically point blank that you can't connect to plumbing lines. So it's probably going to be more the fact that the wiring method that you're dealing with is going to require that it has this, the supports and the fittings and everything's associated with it has to be listed for that application. And that's going to be a 110.3b thing. That's probably more or less where that you're going to find that. Now, in 300, then you probably will find applications in there as well that we could probably utilize for this. But more or less, that you get what you get is raceways used as supporting means. So if I was looking to be 300.11, and it would be C and D, those are the ones that pretty much talk about cable supporting and raceway supporting and supporting other raceways and things like that. So you're not going to find something specifically in there, okay, for that. Now, the only remote thing that you get, again, that you get to it is if I were to look, and I've got my code book in front of me, not that I obviously have the PDF one if we need to look up something, but I've just got my code book. Boy, that looked just all white out like a bunch of blank papers, didn't it? I got my code book in front of me, and if I were to go look at the different wiring methods, and I'll just go look at one for all of us here. So let's look if we were at, let me just pick one. Just give me a second. I'll look at the one that might be better explanation for everybody. Okay, well, if we looked at EMT, for example, and we were looking at, you've got dissimilar metal applications, and have to be prepared for that. EMT shall not be used under the following conditions for the support of luminaires, yada yada yada. Other than that, look at 30, and it said EMT shall be installed in complete systems and in accordance with 300.11, that's complete runs, and shall be securely fastened in place and supported in accordance with 358.30 A and B. EMT shall be securely fastened in place at intervals not exceeding 10 feet. In addition, that's in each outlet box, blah, blah, blah. Supports couplings and connectors. So, again, securing and supporting, I want to be able to use products that are listed for use with that product, that type of scenario. Okay. Listings. EMT, factory elbows, and associated fittings shall be listed. So if I'm connecting it or doing it with something that's not listed for use with EMT, then I might say like a 110.3b issue. That's about the best you're going to get. You're not going to get anything in the code that's going to say plumbing per se. Okay. You do have for example, 358.14 dissimilar metals that, but again, that's not really your question, but that's there in case you need it. All right. So other than that, I don't know of anything else, Mendingo, that would have anything to do with that. So I don't know if that answered your question. If a fitting, if a hanger, for example, was designed for use with plumbing only, right? And I'm using it for plumbing, and I'm trying to think of a strap, and I'm using it for plumbing, but then I want to tie wrap EMT to it, then I don't think that would constitute something that was listed for use with EMT. And so that would be a problem with me. That'd be a 110.3b. That'd be, for EMT, for example, it'd be a 358.6 concern. And if it was in contact with dissimilar metals, then it would be a 358.14 dissimilar metals concern. But if it's not touching the dissimilar metal, then it's not a concern. I look for products that are designed to secure and support a product, a raceway, or a wiring method, that they're also listed accordingly to be able to be used with it. That's what I look for with that. Okay, so it's all to me. It's all about the listings, things like that. All right, so let's. Hopefully that answered your question. My mic is all up in the way tonight. Let's go over to, and I'll, of course, if you got any questions, feel free to post them up. And if you find something that I miss, in that you find something that says, point blank something, then, go ahead and post it. But again, most of those requirements, all that type of stuff needs to be listed for use and designated accordingly to whatever type of wiring method you're using. Okay. What do we got before we go? Benjamin says 300.1c. Well, let's see here. Nah, not really, Benjamin. That's just metric designators and trade size. that type of thing. So that's just, you know, kind of not is, but not. Again, this kind of really goes back to listing requirements. I don't know that type of thing. But yeah, so the one that I was referencing a second ago for everybody to go look up is everything that I was saying was in 300.11. That was in 300.11c and 300.11d. So that's what I was talking about a second ago. Okay, for those that want to go see it. All right, let's kind of go to the browser. See if that works for us. Yeah, my thing is just, I don't know why that's doing that. All right, so that is the wrong. That's the thing that's going to be for me and Jay. So that's obviously not working. That's obviously not working. So I've got obvious issues with my screens again. So let's see here. All right. They're all out of whack. Okay. Not sure why they're out of whack again. Stream Deck has got issues. They sent me a long thing that tells me how to send them, and they act like it's my fault that their box isn't working right. So I was like, forget it. It ain't worth it. I'm not going to worry about it. So anywho, and they've got it all screwed up. So I'm probably going to reset the whole daggone thing. All right. All right. So what we've got here is a question. What's up, Caleb? Thanks for coming. We've got a question on the board. Hopefully y'all can see it. I don't think I can make it really any bigger than that. I mean, I probably could. For those that are having trouble seeing it, let me see. Let me see real quick. Hold on. Because there's always somebody that says they can't see it. So hold on. I've been doing this long enough that I know that there's always somebody who says, I can't see it. All right. You know who you are. All right. All right. So you'll have to deal with it kind of looking stretched, because that's the only way it's going to work tonight. Okay. So there you go. All right. And then I got to move this out of the way because then I can't see what's going on there. All right. So, yeah, I'm real familiar with people putting answers, but I'm not real familiar with people putting code sections. So you're going to have to put code sections tonight. So the continuity of an equipment grounding conductor system used to reduce electric shock hazards for portable electric carnival equipment shall be verified blank. A, and recorded on a quarterly basis. B, and recorded on an annual basis. C, and recorded on a monthly basis. Or D, each time the equipment is connected. Yeah, if it's a carnival, it'd be kind of, first of all, it'd be kind of foolish to do it quarterly. As much as they pull that thing in and out, in and out, in and out as they're going down the road from venue to venue to venue. Annually? Really? As much as this stuff gets beat to death? Monthly? That's still too long. So I would agree and say that it's D. So we have to look it up. So if I'm preparing for an exam, what am I going to do? So in this case, it says carnival equipment. So we know that it's carnival equipment. So it's dealing with a carnival. First thing I might do is go to the index, and you should too. And I'm not going to jump around on the screen. You should have your code books so you can go and see if there's anything under carnivals, and there is. And then of course you look at grounding, and you go down and you see equipment grounding is basically 525. My mic is way away. Sorry about that. I am so unprepared tonight. 525.31 and 525.32. And then, of course, there's grounding conductor continuity assurance. And that is 525.33. dot 32. So we know we're in the dot 30 somethings, right? So we typically would then at that point go over and look at, and again, I'm not sure which one is the NEC anymore on my screen. So I'm just going to use my screen like I always do and forget this expensive little box over here that doesn't work worth a darn anymore. And we'll go into the code and we'll go to 525. Give it a second, because again, it's my $4,000 computer that doesn't work worth crap as well. God, it's got to be a common denominator here. Anyway, so here's your grounding and bonding. Here's dot 30. Here's dot 31. Here's dot 32. And again, we're talking about the assurance of the reliability of that actual equipment grounding conductor, right? The reliability of it. Okay. So obviously it says on the screen, the continuity of the equipment grounding conductor shall be verified each time that portable electrical equipment is connected. Okay. Each time, verify it. All right. So we're going to do that every time it's utilized. So if we come back to the code, or I should say, come back to the screen, then we should be able to check there. And there it is, 525.32. Very good. Let's do another one. All right. All of you out there, examine this one here. And remember, give me code references too before you answer. Go on and look it up. Take the time to look it up. You might know it and you might guess at it, but that's not going to do you any good. That's not going to help you. You need to go through the whole purpose of this exercise is to get your code book out. Now, if you're here for exam prep and you didn't bring a code book, go on and log off. You're really not ready to be here. And I don't say that being mean. It's just that this is exam prep. And so the whole purpose is to get you to work through the code book, not to guess. So kind of work through it. Again, the nature of the exam prep is so that we can actually use the code book and try to look things up, because you get better as you look things up, right? And so this case, the outer sheathing of MI cable is made of steel blank. Steel, it shall not be longer than 6 feet. It shall provide an adequate path to serve as an equipment grounding conductor. Made of steel, a separate equipment grounding conductor shall be provided. Now, again, this is where the outer sheathing of MI is actually made of steel. So that's the difference. And where it is made of steel, the grounding or grounding conductors shall be connected together. So we have a bunch of stuff here. We're dealing with MI cable. So in this case, one of the things we could do was, okay, we know MI cable has an actual article in the code. So we can go look at MI cable. It's under chapter 3. And let's look at MI cable and see what it says. So if you got your code book, pull it out. Now, if you don't know if you're on an exam and you're like, God, where, Paul, I thought I read somewhere you were going to charge $10. I don't have any idea what you're talking about. Not sure I follow you. You can make a donation using the super chat, but no, I'm not charging for these. I open them back up to the public. Now, I should say, if you do donate tonight, you're going to drawing at the end of the night for one of these Electrical Code Academy mini screwdrivers. All right? All right. So it doesn't matter the amount you'll be in a drawing. I will draw it before we leave. I will look at it, and then I will take it, and I will put your name on a piece of paper, and I will drop it in this hat, and I will draw your name out, and I'll get your address, and I will send it to you. All right, so if I had to look at MI cable, now I don't know what it was. You could go to the table of contents in the front and quickly look down and try to find out, quickly what type it is. That way you get an idea of what it is. Now, it won't take you long, and you'll see that it's Article 332. And then you got Part 1, Part 2, Part 3 is the construction requirements. Okay, so anyway, it kind of tells you where it starts on page 197. Very small. Okay, not a big article. So at that point, you're going to go to page 197. Hopefully you're doing it with me. Those already that have already looked it up already have it. Okay, so if you go there, now you're looking and say, okay, of all these down here, you're going to go down, and then what you'll get to is the construction. Now, what we have is you want to make sure that we're giving code references, and they are, and we do have some accurate code references here. And what you'll see is that it is 332.108, and that is entitled Equipment Grounding Conductor. And it says, where the outer sheathing is made of copper, it shall be provide an adequate path to serve as an equipment grounding conductor. Where the outer sheathing is made of steel, a separate equipment grounding conductor shall be provided. Okay, so obviously, D is the answer. And for all of you that found it, looks like y'all jumped right on it. And we'll answer it. And there it is. Very good, guys. All right, next one. Give this one a shot. So I will read it to you so you can start looking it up in your code book. Ain't giving me code references, remember. Electrical equipment shall such as distribution panel boards, motor controllers, and motor control centers that are located in other than dwelling units. And okay, so again, we're talking about other than dwelling units. Okay, commercial. It says, and are likely to require examination, adjustment, servicing, or maintenance while energized, shall be field or factory marked to warn qualified persons of, and again, code references, please. A, conductor's ampacity corrections. B, arcing parts. C, shock hazard warning. And D, potential arc flash hazards. So, on an exam, I could probably rule out 2 right away. Doesn't really have anything with conductor ampacity corrections, and not necessary. Nothing about arcing parts is really anything that we're familiar with. But we do have the potential for shock hazard warning as well as potential arc flash hazard. So these 2 are plausible. So those are the type of conditions that we need to think about. All right. So in your code book, give it a look it up, see what you think. For me, when I'm doing this for an exam, the key thing for me is this kicks into requirements. In other words, this is really something that's a 110 driven thing for me. So, could be wrong, but it's my first inclination. That's a good word to use. And I would say that would typically put me into 110. And I know that 110 is not overly big, right? So I would kind of look at it and see what's the requirements and everything, and look at it and see what I'm dealing with. Hold on for a second. Okay. So we're looking at the requirement. And let's see which do you think it is. Now, I could go to the code if I could get this thing to work. You know what? I'm just going to choose this one because I've lost all faith in my little switching box, by the way. All faith in it. It's at this point, it's a waste of money. Okay. Oops. All right. So in this point right here, we have arc flash hazard. And of course, the question was either shock hazard warning or potential arc flash hazard. Okay? That's what we're kind of what we're working off of. All right? Let me get back to where I was there. Okay. So let's see here. so other than dwelling, so check this out. Electrical equipment such as switchboard, switchgear, and it wasn't, the question didn't give everything, by the way. Electrical equipment such as switchboard, switchgear, panel boards, industrial control panel, meter socket enclosures, and motor control centers that is in other than dwelling units and is likely to require examination, adjustment, and maintenance while shall be field or factory marked to warn qualified persons of potential electric arc flash hazards. Okay? So, potential electric arc flash hazards. So, let's kind of trying to figure out which one of these actually gets me back to where I need to be. You know what? Again, didn't I just say I wasn't going to use that anymore? I'm not. So we're going to go back to the browser. I am not using that machine over there anymore. Okay, so we saw that it was potential arc flash hazards. Okay, and if I look at the questions here, it looks like D. I have one person that answered, Code Strong. Tim's the one that answered that one. Well done. Well done indeed. Okay, so we'll go here. Oh, we don't know that that's right yet, do we? We got to check it. There you go. 110.16. And you'll notice in the 2020 code, it is 110.16a. And so for those that did ask, the Fast Tracks programs are all updated. Okay, they've all been updated, by the way. Okay. All right. Next question. All right. Very good. Very good. I assume y'all had it. Tim just beat every... Oh, you had that question on your exam? There you go, folks. There you go. All right. Check this one out. Look at it really good. This is one that you really need to work out. I'll work it out with you. I'll help you out. But kind of look at it. This is what's going to, it's going to benefit you. So determine the minimum size THW copper branch circuit conductors required by the NEC to supply a three-phase continuous duty AC motor that has a full load current of 70 amperes. Okay. Assume all terminations to be rated at 75 degrees C. Okay. So this is one of those questions where it's giving you actually everything here, right? Because one thing it didn't give you, I don't believe, is horsepower. So a lot of times the people will say, they'll say, well, I can't. I've had people actually email me different things like this. Say, I can't answer this question. And I'm like, why? Well, you taught me that I have to go to 430.248 or 430.250 to find whatever horsepower is to go find what the FLC is. Okay, that's true. That's a true statement. But in this question here, the exam writer is giving you everything that you need in this question. They're saving you to go look it up. I don't know which horsepower it would be. And at this point, I don't really care. I do know that it tells me that it's already 70 amperes as a full load current, or the FLC. So, and again, we're going to assume all terminations are going to be 75 degrees C. They told me that, so I'm going to assume that. No other adjustment and corrections are in play here. Nothing was mentioned of it. Don't let the mind wander. And what are we going to do at this point? Okay. Well, one of the key factors in here is that we know that 430.22 is going to tell us that continuous duties are taken at 125%. So we're going to take it at 125%. So that should have been your first course of action. And I shouldn't have probably done that and said that. I should have probably let you do it. But there's enough people getting the answers here. So we'll kind of work it out ourselves with you. I got my old trusty calculator here. And I just realized how scruffy I'm looking again. It's not very professional. I don't care. All right, I'm working from home. So it's 70 times 1.25 equals 87.5. So then, of course, we're going to go to the NEC. Not that I'm doubting you folks, but we always got to go to the NEC. All right, and we're going to go to 310.15B16 or 310.16 if you're in the 2020, my friends. There was a change. All right, so there's your THW. We already knew it was 75-degree rated terminals, and I don't get rid of all this. This stuff just is misleading. This was during another class that I did, a tutoring program. I'm sorry. Okay, so we're under here, and we need 87.5. Well, that ain't going to work. That ain't going to work. That'll work. 100. Good for 100 amps at most certainly at 3 gauge. Most certainly will handle that 87.5, right? That's not a problem. Okay. Let's go back. So I'm with you. I'm buying into the 3. So again, let's see what the code, see what it says. I'm going to go with the 3. And there you go. Worked it right out. 100 amps as we selected. Perfect. If you get these on an exam like this, where they actually give you everything you need, I mean, the only difference here would be if I told you the horsepower, then the only step that you got to remember first for an exam is that you're going to have to go to 430.248. Now, in this case, it's 3-phase, so it's 430.250. And you would look in that table. And for craps and giggles, I'm just interested to see, is there any of them that is rated for 70 amperes, by the way? Just under 3-phase, indulge me here for a second. And it didn't say whether it was, it really didn't say whether it was 120, 240. It didn't really, and 115. It didn't say the motor, it just gave 70. So I'm just going to look real quick. Bear with me. Let's see if there's anything in here that actually is 70. Or did they just pull this number out of their butt? All right, there ain't nothing back there that's 70. So again, they just pulled this number out of their butt. That's okay. This comes up on the exam, and this is easy, right? Be thankful if you get a bunch of these, right? It'll be like, everybody has a tendency to want to do that. Seems like I have a stream issue. Hey, David, I didn't see you in here. Seems that I got a stream issue. Let me go monitor this issue because it says that I'm dropping frames. Give me a second, folks, while I go see what this is going on. Let's see. Up. See what kind of delay I have. All right, it's a few seconds delay. It's okay. I can deal with that. I don't know what that was going on, but that's a YouTube thing. It's not me. All right. Minimum. Give me a code reference. Okay, so incidentally, this is a minimum rating. It's a service disconnection means for a building. And you notice it says, other than a one-family dwelling consisting of 3 2-wire circuits shall be blank. Okay? So where would I go for this? Notice it says service disconnection means, but it does say for it's other than a building. And it specifically tells you it's not a one-family dwelling. That should tell you something. So if I was looking for service disconnection means, I might go to the back of the index if I didn't know. But you should know the service disconnect that it's going to be in 230. But let's just say you didn't. And we look at the back of the book. Okay. And I'm looking under... I'm with you. I'm looking, and I don't have my second camera on to give you a, another perspective of me looking at the code book. But let's look in here. So I'm going to look under service disconnection means. I'm waiting for somebody to give me a response, unless it's totally stalled out, and it could be. I doubt it. Okay, I knew Brian would do it. I knew Brian would hit it. For a second. I'm not sure why this is doing that. Hold on for a second, guys. What is going on? What is going on with my phone? You know what? Screw that. I ain't got the time for that. All right, so Brian says C. Jose gives me an answer, but didn't give me a code section, so we're going to ignore Jose. All right, so if I'm looking at looking at it, now this is, again, one of those where you really got to read it because this is other than a one family. But anyway, if I was searching for it and I didn't know, of course, you go to 230 and look. And again, it's service disconnect, but let's kind of go in the back of the book, the code book, and I'm going to go look under service disconnect or services. And so, again, get your code books and look at them. I'm seeing a bunch of numbers here come in. Very good, very good. I'm liking what I see. And for those that are following along, you go back to the service and service equipment. And we're looking under service equipment. And let's see here. Services, number of services, I know. Looking to see what might give us a heads up to where something might be. And I'm looking at it to see if there's anything that might be a trigger in the back of the book. And I don't see any big triggers. One of the keys here is you got to know we're talking about the service disconnection means. And so one of the areas under services that might get me kind of there is when it says the disconnection means, and of course it says number, but again, 230.71 would get me in the approximate area. And then I would hit bold scanning. And you should be at section 79. What else could I find in here? Let's see here. I don't see any triggers right offhand in the back of the book that would, the index in the back of the book is not the holy grail. So again, a good example is don't rely on it to be your go-to for everything. Okay? Because it might not be helpful for you in all cases. But I was just looking in there under services to see if there was anything that would be beneficial. Bear with me. Just trying to see if there's anything else. Because I would have thought there would have been something under ratings. And I might just be drawing a blank. And this is one of those where I knew the answer right off the top of my head. So it's one of those where on an exam, you're just going to answer it and move on, but you need to know where to look at it, okay? So if in reality, if I'm going into 230 and I'm going into, because the question's asking about disconnection means, right? So that's the power of doing those index cards that we talk about in the fast tracks. We have electronic cards. In real life, okay, you go buy you some of those cheap cards and you decide you put 230 and you pick really significant sections that are really important and you make little cards for them, right? So in this case, we'd be under part 6, which is, disconnection means for service equipment. That would get us there. And then we would bold scan, and you will notice that if you bold scan it, you'll get to the rating of the disconnect, which is basically minimum rating of the service. It's a ratings question. So I'm here, and I've got a couple choices here. I've got one circuit installation. Again, 230.79, by the way. I have one circuit installation, two circuit installation, one family dwellings, which ain't applicable here. Okay? And then we got all other. And this is all other applications. And then again, that one says that not less than 60 amperes. Okay. So we have 15. We have for one circuit. And this one here says consisting of 3 2-wire circuits shall be. Okay. So let me look at some answers here. And 60. Okay. I feel good. Good question, D. Good question. Service disconnect rating. Very good. Right. Okay. So I'm going to feel very confident, and we'll go with that. And there you go, 230.79D. The key here is it was a service disconnection means. And if I were to go to the index, then there's a bunch of ways I could do it. I could have gone under the services. And incidentally, I'm wondering if I could have gone to disconnection means and look at it this way. There's disconnection means, so we have that. And if you go down, let's look and see if there's something under services. And it is, at least it'll get you to part 6. And then we do our bold scanning. If you can't find exactly what you're looking for, at least it gets you to the service disconnects. Okay? So just a couple ways that you can get there. And incidentally, that didn't change in the 2020 to 20. That's still the same location. Code section didn't change. Okay. All right. Y'all did good on that one. A lot of looking around. All right. So next one. Make sure I'm on it. There we go. God, this looks weird. All right. Class blank locations are those that are hazardous because of the presence of easily ignitable fibers or where materials producing combustible flyings are handled. Okay? So, again, presence of easily ignitable fibers or where materials producing combustible flyings are handled. So, is this a class 4, class 3, class 2, class 1? Now, look, we can throw one of them out, right? We know there's no class 4. So we could rule it down. Now, if you know that class 1 is something and class 2 is something and class 3 is something, just by the sheer presence of fibers and flyings, you ought to know where you are. But if you don't know, where are you going to go to look? And that's what we're all about here. It's not just you know the answer, you're just going to give it. You have to know and look it up. So I think Brian has done that. What's up, Randall? Welcome. All right. So Brian has a location that he believes that he's got it. Nick's got a reference, but he doesn't have a code reference with it, so I'm going to ignore it. So now I have Brian and Mandingo each are saying, one saying B and one saying C. Okay. Well, we're going to look it up then because we have two differing, and so we're going to look it up. So first things that I want to know for me is the first thing I would do is understanding classifications. We have 501, 502, 503. And I would understand what each one of those. So for me, in this question, since it's asking specifically for fibers and flyings, if you didn't know class 1, class 2, class 3, and you're going to do a lot of jumping around, I would probably, for the time in the question, I would probably jump up to the table of contents if it was me, and I would go, here and look at it and say, okay, do I get anything up the front? And you'll notice that in the table of contents, it only gets, I'm just trying to show you what somebody might do. They will go up there and say, well, wait a minute, it says class 1, it says class 2, but it says class 3. But you notice it doesn't say what they are. So that's going to force you to have to go and look. Now, if you go to the index, are you going to look at each one? Class 1, class 2, class 3? Well, that's going to eat up time. So since we're simply looking for type of whether what's dealing with fibers and flyings, if you didn't already know, okay, and you know that type 1 is gases, type 2 is dusts, and type 3 is fibers and flyings, if you didn't know that, then you'd want to go look it up. So I would go quickly to 500, all right, and look at it and say, okay, in 500, I have got the ability to turn it real quickly and look and see what the classifications of locations are. All right, so I can real quickly see class 1 is dealing with gases, flammable liquid, produced vapors. Okay, doesn't have anything to do with this here. Class 2, I can look and see that's combustible dust. Ain't got anything to do with this here. Then I can look at class 3. And when I look at class 3, it's talking about fibers and flyings. Okay? So I get there that way. Or you could actually go quickly to each one, 501, 502, and 503, and real quick look at the heading and see what's in the scope and what it covers. So 503.1, for example, will tell you that it's dealing with class 3 application. Now, it didn't ask for any, it says class 3 locations, but it didn't say class 3 division anything. Okay, it didn't really ask for divisions. It just wants to know the class. Okay, so there's more than one way you can find this one. You can go to the 500 and peruse it. Probably takes more time. For me, I'd probably be honest with you, in an exam, I would know this, and that's what you get when you're in a course and you train. But if I didn't know this, I always think in hierarchy. Gases, worst. Combustible dust, second worst. Flammable, ignitable fibers and flyings, the third. Okay, things like that. So, but you could quickly go to look at the top of the header. You could quickly go to 501, 501, 502, or 503, and find your answer pretty quick. Okay, in this case, it is 500.5D. And why are we at 500.5D? Because that's the one where we went to at 500, and you just keep reading and it'll give you the classes. Could you answer this question by going to 503? Absolutely. You could as well. Okay? So, just different ways. The good news is it didn't ask you a thing, okay? It didn't ask a thing about location. So, class 3, division 1, or division 2, didn't ask us any of that stuff, okay? All right, let's go to another one. Many ways to skin the cat, they say. All right, I'm not sure if I'm on the screen. Okay, work this one out here. So what do we got? Very similar to one we had before. It's 208 volt, 3-phase, 50 horsepower, squirrel cage, continuous duty, design C, AC motor with a full load running current of blank. Okay? And full load running current. Okay? So, give this one a looky. Let's see what you got. Well, first thing that we want to know is it's 208 volts. It's 3-phase. So, first thing I got to go to where? Somebody tell me where I go to. Hold on. What did Brian say? Tim's reference is better. Yes. It is better in a sense that it is one of the places that's going to be more accurate in the answer, but you could get that answer pretty quickly. Okay? By going right to each specific article if you want. It just takes more time. Or you go to 500, you got to flip. Okay? Depends on how you want to get there. I just want you to get the answer. All right, let's look at this one. And I'll let you guys answer it. And I will follow your lead. All right, Tim says it's in 230. Think again, Timothy. Typo. His fingers got quick. All right. So 208 and it's 50 horsepower. Okay. And 50 horsepower is 143. Okay. So it's 143, and we know that it's one of the different aspects of it. This will be interesting response. Let's see what you get, because it's 143, and you'll see that the following values of load currents are typical for motors running at the speed usual for belted motors. Okay. That's what it says up at the title of 430.250. So I'm interested in your answers here. See what you have to say. Remember, it's full load running current. Now, I already see the tables. We established, we know we're at the table. Good. So all of you got it right. 430.250. So is it A, B, C, or D? See what we get on this one. And then we'll explain it. We'll look at it in a little detail. I'll keep in mind that I didn't ask to size anything yet. So keeping in mind that I didn't ask to size anything, and this question didn't. Oh, by the way, I don't know if that's working or not. If you donate, you get you're getting the drawing tonight. All right. I'm waiting for some people to give me some answers. And while y'all are doing that, you bear with me. Y'all answer this one. I need to open up something on my screen. So just, bear with me here while y'all are doing that. While y'all are answering that question. All right. Just monitoring the stream here. I wanted to get that up so I could monitor the stream. Okay. All right. I'm back. Okay. I was just testing to see what works. Okay. Anybody have an answer here? I don't see anybody posting anything. I don't know if and everybody thinks like, okay, I don't want to be the one to ask. Somebody take a stab at it. What do you think? Doesn't do me any good if I just give you the answer. So the question is 3-phase, 50 horsepower. Let's look at, you know what? Let's look at the code. All right, I got some C's and I got an A. Okay. Let's look at the NEC. And let's do this. As y'all know, I like to go to see, God, this computer is just really astounding me how it could be so slow yet has so much power in it. Crazy. All right, so here's your 208. Here's the 50 horsepower. Here's the current. Now notice, said the following values of full load currents are typical for motors running at speeds usually for belted motors or motors with normal torque characteristics. Okay? Okay? All right. All right, so we got an A, we got some A's. Okay. All right, let's go back to the browser. Okay. So we have people that we say some A's, and I have a C there. Okay. Now I'm pretty sure that C, hold on, is 143 times 1.25. Okay. So Tim says it's C. I mean, okay. All right. But we have some A's, so let's go on and answer. We'll go with A. And that is correct. Now, why is it A? The reason it's A is, and this is kind of a typical, oops, hold on, let me do this down here so you can see it. This is very typical for an exam where it tells you something that's outside of the norm. And what was outside of the norm is that it's telling you that it's full load running current. So FLC is basically, we use 125% for sizing conductors. Okay, we do higher than that when we're doing short circuit and ground fault protection, right? but that's driven by the code 430.52 or 430.22. In this case, the value that's in the table is the running current. It's the full load current. Okay? Running. It's when we have to do other things to it that change it. Okay? Treat it as a continuous load and all that. Okay? That's for conductors. Short circuit and ground fault protection, 250% if it's a breaker. Okay? An inverse time breaker, then it's 250%. Those are other applications. The question was just simply ask us what's the full load running current amps, and that's straight from the table. Okay, straight from the table. So you don't use the continuous load because Mandingo, I'm not sizing a conductor, and you get that continuous load application when you go to 430.22 for conductor sizing. Okay, so we're only asking, the question's only asking for the full load running current. Okay. Now, obviously in real life, you know what? In real life, you're going to have to size conductors and you're going to have to treat it as continuous loads and all this kind of stuff and all that. You know what I mean? But this question is one of those where it just says, hey, I'm going to give you a bunch of stuff, right? And then I'm going to just say, just tell me what the full load running current. And if you read the title of table 430.250, it kind of tells you that the values in this table is the full load current running. Okay. Some people would classify that as a trick question, but only in a sense that it didn't ask you to size it for conductors or anything else like the last question was. It was just kind of a straight question. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Question. We had a question from DJ 430.251B. Well, if you look at that one, DJ, it actually is a conversion that you're going to need to do when you're dealing with locked rotor, which is actually dealing with 430.251. But this is specific for use with 430.110, 440.12, 440.41, and 455.8C. In those specific rules, you're going to utilize these maximum lock rated current amperes in this value for those applications, okay? So only when you're dealing with 430.110 do you need to worry about it. 440.12, 440.41, or 455.8C, okay? So it's the only time you would deal with it. Certainly not for an exam prep application. I don't think any of that would have anything to do with it. Incidentally, I'll look because we usually don't. Let me look real quick. I'll look and see if there's an example I can think of where you would use it. Bear with me. Oh, while I'm doing that, I'll put the next question on there while I'm doing this for you, DJ. I'll look at. Let me put the next question for everybody so they can work it. Oh, good. This is a good question. All right, so y'all work that out while I'm looking to see if there's anything. Yes, Brian, it would be a fire pump application. Might be a good example of that. 430.110. Y'all look that up. Let's see here. Yeah, so while y'all are looking that up for DJ, you have a specific requirement. It says in, for example, if you have a ampere rating and interruptive capacity under 430.10, for example, again, we're in motors still. You go down and it'll say for combination loads, and then when you have two or more motors are used together, or where one or more motor is used in combination with other loads, such as resistance heaters, and where the combination load may be simultaneous on a single disconnection mean, an ampere and horsepower ratings of the combined load shall be determined as follows. So you have maybe a horsepower rating and you got an ampere rating. If you go down in that, it'll tell you the locked rotor current equivalent to the horsepower rating for each motor shall be selected from table 430.251A or table 430.251B. Okay. And so it just gives you some guidance in there, but it's going to send you back, but that's very specific. Okay. What's the question? Determine the maximum number. Okay. Give me some references and things like that, guys. And what is the maximum number of 14 AWG THHN conductors permitted to be installed in a trade size 3/8 inch flexible metal conduit, FMC, that contains a bare size 14 AWG grounding conductor when the FMC has external fittings? Okay, so if I was just doing this for the first time and you didn't know where FMC was and know that that's a pretty small article, I might go to the back of the book and I might look under FMC, flexible metal conduit. So if you're doing it with me, we'll go in the back. I know where to go, what article to go to, but let's work it out. If I were to go to the back, flexible metal conduit, says it's article 348. And then if I go down it and I look at it and it says number of conductors, all this kind of, it is conduit, right? Yes. And I look down the list, you're thinking, okay, where do I need to start? Well, if I'm looking at the numbers, to be honest with you, there's not a whole that, you have number of conductors, 348.22. And it kind of the question is asking me about the number of conductors, by the way. So I would say, okay, well, I would think it would be 348.22. And that's where I'd go. On an exam, if you notice that an article is pretty small, in other words, I see, there's basically .56 is the highest one in this list. No, .60 is the highest. All right, I know that that's not but a couple pages. Go right to 348. Just go there, okay? Just do it. Just do it. All right. So I go to 348. Just do it. As they say in the Northeast. Just do it. All right. Sorry. In today's society, even that impression could offend somebody. And if I offended anybody, I apologize because we seem to be an overly offended nation lately. All right. So let's go and look and see. And I'd go to .22. And it says the number of conductors. And it says the number of conductors shall not exceed permitted by the percentage fill specified in Table 1, Chapter 9, or as permitted in Table 348.22 for metric designators of trade size 3/8. Go down to the table. I go down to the table, and it was THHN. So it's THHN. And interesting. So it also says external fitting. So fittings outside of the conduit. So that's has an external fitting, by the way. And I go down and look at 14, because that's the conductors. And it looks like it says 4. Okay. Now, one thing to be in mind, if you look up at the header, because everybody says B4. Okay, everybody says 4. Okay, if you look up at the header, and I'm going to go there because I want to show you it. This question I have seen come up on an exam, okay? Or I know that it has been very popular on the exam. So we'll go there. And this is the table we're looking at right here. Notice this asterisk. Notice it says, in addition, one insulated, covered, or bare equipment grounding conductor of the same size shall be permitted. In addition. So let me ask you a question. If this says THHN, and this says 14, and this says 4 THHN, okay? So that would be 4. And it fitting's on the outside, but it says, in addition, one insulated, covered, or bare equipment grounding conductor of the same size shall be permitted. Permitted. Okay, so let's go back to the question. All right. So we have a 3, 4, 2. We know it's not 3. We know it's not 2. Majority of everybody says that it is 4. Okay. All right. So the question, again, maximum number of size 14 conductors permitted to be installed in a trade size 3 that contains a bare size 14 grounding conductor when the FMC has an external fitting. So we're already assuming, okay, you're already assuming it has one in there. So it's asking me how many 14s I can put in there. Okay. So it's already telling me it contains a bare. So the asterisk is already covered. So again, so I'm going to agree on the side of the 4. Randall's bouncing back and forth with that one. So let's see if it's 4. Correct. You know why it's 4? Because the question already says that it has a bare in it. Okay. Now, this question could come up on an exam in many, many ways. Okay. They might ask you the total number, and it might say the total number of conductors, period, inside of the actual flexible metal conduit, and not really give you any hint that there's already one in there for the equipment ground. But that's a good one because that kind of illustrates what that asterisk's all about. Okay, it's just saying that you can have 4 in there, plus the addition of a insulated bare or covered equipment grounding conductor. So 5 total, but that wasn't the question. So the question was, how many 14s can I put in there? Because I already have a bare in there. Okay, good question. Wasn't a trick question, I don't reckon. It's just kind of, without this right here, it kind of can throw you a little bit. Okay, but good job. Y'all didn't let it get you. Didn't let it throw you. But I wanted to take that opportunity to explain the asterisks, because that's what that's all about. Okay? And very common on an exam, by the way. Very common. All right. Give this one a look. It says receptacle supplying power to freestanding type office furnishings. Okay, so we have office furnishings, freestanding type, shall be located not more than blank. Okay, not more than blank from the furnishings that is connected to it. Okay, so receptacle supplying power. So you got the receptacle, and it's supplying power to the freestanding office furnishings, and it shall be located not more than blank. So obviously we're looking for a distance. Don't just throw a number. Go look it up. Blank from the furnishings that it's connected to. So, okay, so you've got the receptacle and you've got the furnishings, and it's going to connect to it, and it's got to be only so close to it. Okay, where do we get all that at? Where do we find it? Well, freestanding office furnishings. It might be something that I want to go in the back of the book. Okay. David, don't give me an answer. You've got to give me a code section. It's too easy to guess. I know you might feel you're right, but I'm going to rag on you in a minute if you're not right. Okay. Because again, and maybe you came in late, but I want code references. The only way it's going to help you is to look it up. Okay. So look it up with your code book. And if you don't have a code book tonight, anybody that doesn't have their code book tonight, go on and leave now. Because this is exam prep. You should bring your code book. All right. So I'm going to look under office furnishings and see if there's anything under office furnishings. There is under office furnishings, by the way. And it's talking about partitions. Now, this one says, okay, it's office furnishings, okay. And it says freestanding type. It's in the code. It's under the index. We got lucky here. At least it sends us the 605.8, but of course there's a 605.9, so that brings me to the next thing. If you're taking an exam and you're already in the back of the book, you want to make sure that one, you quantify where you need to be, but two, write down all the sections that you feel are pertinent so you don't have to be jumping back and forth to the index. That's just going to eat time in an exam. So in this case, we know it's 605, and the sections that we're going to deal with are going to be dot 8 and dot 9. Is there any other ones there that might be valid for me? No. Well, another thing that I noticed, what did we say? 605 looks like it is very small. I mean, it looks like there's dot 9 is the greatest one here. Now, there might be some others, but it's very small. So you probably could say, I'm heading to 605, and I'm just going there, and I'm going to do my bold scanning that we talk about, looking at the bold scans and do that. So we'll do that. We'll go look at it. 605, see if we can't get our answer. Let me close this little thing down here. All right, so we knew it was office furnishings, okay? And so we said on our notes 605.8 and 605.9. So here's freestanding furnishings. Now, one of the things that I like to do, I like to kind of at least work with it is, let's go back to the question so I can go back to, let's see, where are we at? Okay, so it's receptacles supplying power. So we're trying to find the distance of receptacles that are going. Now, there's always an off chance that this could be up in 406. Okay, so kind of keep that, that in mind. Okay, you never know, but it is dealing with office furnishings. So again, it's very much a receptacle driven thing. So let's go back to the code. And see, nothing there is beneficial. Oh, look, receptacle supplying power seems beneficial. And it says receptacle supplying power, blah, blah, blah. No, another tip on an exam. Use the answers in the question to be your trigger to save you time. I know you want to learn the code, and we are going to learn it like a fast tracks program teaches you the code. But on an exam, you need to get the information quickly and save you time. So, what happened to my mic? So in this case right here, the triggers are, we know it's receptacle power. I immediately see 12 inches. Oops, sorry about that. I immediately see 12 inches. Let me go back to the code right here. Okay, and it's telling me office furnishing and no other loads shall be located not more than 12 inches from the offering that it connects to. Seems to me that that's addressing our question, 12 inches. So it takes me back to the question. All right, and it looks like to me, and that is the answer. So, David, just picking on you, David, but that's why we don't, that's why we look things up. We want to know. We want to practice the code using a purpose. We want to go to the code through a purpose, and that's why we do it. Guessing it only does something that I tell people when they guess, it only reinforces the fact that you might remember something that's not something that you want to remember. So when we go these classes every Wednesday night, make sure we have a code book and we work them through, because I really want you to have the best chance of success. And I'm willing to open up all of my questions that are in our Fast Tracks program. There's over 1,200 of them. I'm willing to open them up to you every week, okay? Most people have to pay for these programs. So I'm opening them up so that we can learn from them. So you want to really utilize them the best you can, all right? But I am just teasing you, David. So, all right, so now the next one is kind of like what you're going to get on an exam. It either will tell you up front whether or not the exceptions apply or the exceptions don't apply, okay? So you got to know that up front, all right? So in this case, it's telling you no exceptions are going to apply here. Disregard any exception, okay? It says, all the following wiring methods listed are permitted to be used as a feeder for temporary wiring on a construction site, except. So first thing that should trigger you the very first thing that should trigger in your mind is that it's saying, what are we dealing with? And that is a construction site. So it seems to me like it would be dealing with what? Dealing with temporary applications. So somebody tell me what article deals with temporary wiring. Should come to you pretty quickly. If you're in the program, there you go, Tim. 590, hammer it home. What is going on with my mic tonight? Why is that dropping out? I'm having all kinds of trouble tonight, folks. All right, Brian, boy, code strong, baby. All right, so Brian throws up there 590. Brian says D. Okay. So let's see. We got a bunch of 590s. Randall has 590. Okay, so we've established. So incidentally, for those that are studying for an exam that don't know 590, let me give you another tip. If you're in the Fast Tracks program, you can use the flashcards and make all kinds of electronic flashcards. And I tell people all the time, if you're going to use them, use the electronic ones and make new ones and put articles on one side and on the other side put the answer and make as many of them as you can, and you don't have to go buy flashcards. But if you want to buy flashcards and have somebody do them with you, just go buy some cheap index cards from the Dollar General or the Family Dollar or whatnot. You can get a stack of 500 of them. And the process of you writing down each article in the code on one side and the answer on the other is just going to help you get better at it by just basically making the cards are going to make you better. All right. So they're in 590. Now, if I was not familiar with that, I might go back to the back of the book and go to temporary wiring, see what we have, and see what it says for those that are new. And so we have temporary installations. Okay, 590. So that's where it would get us. Okay. And we would look at it, and I'm going to go down it and see if there's anything. Well, you see that it says feeders. So this question's asking about feeders. And under temporary installation, it says feeders 590.4b. Okay. All right. So 4b. Now it says, disregarding any exceptions, all the following wiring methods are permitted for use as feeders in temporary wiring construction site, except, okay, no exceptions. Okay. So ignore anything about exception. Here, I went to the index under temporary installations. That's what we're dealing with, temporary installation. And I noticed that it directly gives me something about feeder, so it also gives me something about branch circuits as well. But here I'm asking about a feeder specifically. So 590.4b, if I was on an exam, that's what I'm going to write down real quickly. Okay? And I'm going to go to it. So we're going to go to 590.4. And I'll close that down. And we've got 590.4, and there's B. And it says, blah, 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 for feeders, yada, yada, yada. Following wiring methods. So there's NM. There's the SE. Okay. And there's type SE cable. Okay. So let's kind of go back to the question so we can kind of bring this, into the realm of what we've got here. So basically NMC was listed, NM cable was listed, SE cable was listed. So the only thing that wasn't there was type PD, right? So it seems pretty obvious. Now, interesting enough, I was just going to look and see if there's anything under exception that actually talks about PD, PD cord, just because of the way it wrote the question. And I wanted to see if there was anything in there. I don't see anything in there that would have been anything really relevant to it. Maybe it is, and I just don't see it. Okay. So anyway, that would have been on an exam. That would have been, a quick one, right? We would have answered that one. So we can go to the code and answer that. So there you go. And of course, this obviously sends us to the table. So that must be the one with the flexible chords. Then you go back to flexible chords, and that's where you'd find PD chord because it sends you, but it chords. Any chords are going to be in 400. So again, it's not listed there. So you would have to use the exception to even get to 400. So not going to be easy answered questions on an exam. And I like easy questions on an exam. Anything that's going to be easier on an exam, you go. All right, Randall, what does no mean? No what? All right, next question. When a pull box contains conductors of size 4 and larger and a straight pull of the conductors is to be made, the length of the box shall not be less than blank times the trade diameter of the largest conduit entering the box. Okay, pull from left to right, top to bottom. Yeah, okay, there you go. I didn't know what the no means. All right, so 8, 4, 12, and 6. Well, in an exam, you might know this answer because you've always heard me beat this old acronym into your head. But I don't even know what that means. Oh, sorry. All right, so I'll ignore that because I have no idea what that means. Maybe you're on a delay or something. Okay, Randall, there you go. My old acronym, straight as 8. So give me a code reference. Where would this be in the National Electrical Code that you would get there? Okay. Now, if you're new to the code and you're thinking, where do I get that? All right. We're talking about what? We're talking about a pull box. So again, remember, we like to do this if people are not familiar with where you would go. Obviously, in your mind, you should be, by now, you should be under boxes because you know that it's asking a question about a pull box, and 314 is boxes. However, for those that, we want to look up things, and you really should be looking them up because the more you look up things, the more proficient you get. I go and look under the index, and I believe that there is actually something under pull boxes in the index for those that might not know. So if you go to the index, there is pull boxes. And if you go there, it'll tell you to also go to boxes. Okay. Now, again, it looks to me like at least you could have used it to kind of get there. And at least it gives you that, because it'll say 4 and larger, it tells you 314.28a. Okay. So you could have gotten there by looking up pull boxes. And again, I do this for students all the time. Let's look at boxes and see what reference it might have been under boxes. So again, you should be doing this as well. Otherwise, you're just going to wait for me to do it because I'm going to do it because I have students that this benefits. So I'm going to look under boxes, and I'm going to see if there's anything under pull or anything that would be remotely beneficial to me. All right. And so let's see here. Boxes, covers. I like to always look and see if there's multiple ways that I can find things. Wireways uses pull, no. No. I like to look. Okay, if you had to go into boxes, you're not going to get a whole lot of help. So again, you would have known to go to 314. But you're not going to get a whole heck of a lot of help there. But we're talking about specifically. Now, for those that are new, that have never been to these before on Wednesday nights, you need to watch my video that's called Looking for the Root. Because in this root, we would have noticed there are a couple things. One, we would be talking about pull boxes specifically. Not any old box, but a box being used as a pull box. So that would have led us as one of the triggers to go look under pull boxes, which is what I did in the index. Now, in your studies, you're in a program that's a planned program. You're probably going to do some calculations on pull boxes. Angle pulls 6 times. And you're going to look at U pulls 6 times, and you're going to go straight pulls 8 times, and you're going to do these. You're going to learn these things, and it's going to save you time on an exam because you're going to look at this and go straight as 8, just like what everybody else that Randall did and Tim did. Okay, they're going to go straight as 8, straight as 8, straight as 8. Answers A, boom, go, and you just bought you some time. But if you're not familiar with it, you need to be familiar with the fact that this is still boxes. It's going to be in 314, but you need practicing identifying out what the true trigger is of the question. We're asking about a pull box size, okay? And so that's how you dissect it out. And it just so happens that pull box is in the index, okay? So all that's a way for me to say, let's do this. And there you go, 314.28A1. Everybody that said that, very good. All right, y'all ready? All right. Answer this question. Now, again, if y'all have any questions about something else you want me to explain as far as exam prep, post it, and I will be more than happy. So, again, I don't want it to be just looking up questions. If you have a question, feel free to post it. In general, when feeder conductors of not over 600 volts supply a continuous load of 240 amperes, the overcurrent protection device protecting this circuit shall have a minimum rating of blank. Okay? So it's a feeder conductor, and it's not under 600 volt supply. So it's a 600 volt system. Okay, whatever. Supplying a continuous load, so it's a continuous 240 volts. Hey, remember something. If you ever run into this thing where people ask you, I've got 240 amps of continuous load, remember that the 240 amps is the continuous load. It is the load. The only reason we're going to add some kind of value to that, and we'll talk about it, the only reason we're doing that is because we're sizing conductors or because we have what's called an overcurrent device limitation, where it's limited to 80%. Well, the reciprocal of 80% is 125%. So if I already know the ampacity, then I can find what size breaker I need by taking the value at 125%. If I already know what the breaker size is going to be, then I can multiply that by 80% because 80 is reciprocal with 125. So depending on what they give you on an exam, you'll be able to answer the question, right? Based on whether they give you the ampacity value to treat as a continuous load, or they give you the overcurrent device and ask you what the maximum continuous load can be on the conductor that's supplying that breaker, that's being supplied by that breaker. So just remember that 120 or 125 and 80% are reciprocal values depending on what they give you in the question. So in this one here, it's asking you for the overcurrent device. Well, it's 240 amperes, right? So we're looking for a minimum rating of the device, all right? And it's not over 600 volts, okay? So 240 times is that, and I'll take it away real quick because I don't see any answers yet. Oh, I just now realized what O was answering, but I don't know how the word you would have answered it that quick, O, because I think there's a couple second delay. So you're like Notre Dame. Hold on, I got something for that. But since you didn't give a code reference, I'm going to go, I don't know, what code reference would you give? I'm going to ask you guys because I want you to look it up. Give me the code reference that mandates this, how this is treated as a continuous load. There you go. Jose already got it. He's like, boom. He was right on it because he said, it's a feeder, Paul. It's a feeder. All right. So we're going to go with this. And there you go. 215.3. Jose. Whoop, whoop. In the house. 125%. Because 215, which deals with feeders, said that you treat continuous loads at 125%. Very good. This over 600 really, that's just fodder, extra info. Didn't mean anything. Didn't help anything. And of course, sizing the breaker, again, 300. So you're thinking, okay, 300 amperes. Okay. So in the code, we would go to, and I see some of you've done that. We would go to 240.6. Oops, right here. And we see that there is genuinely a breaker. Let me turn this one off. Rated for 300 amperes, so we're good to go. 300 amperes, perfectly fine. Now remember, the actual load itself that is continuous is only 240 amps. Why are we doing the 300? Because we're protecting the overcurrent device. Okay? It's not rated. Now, if that device was rated for continuous load, okay, then we would only have to size it based on it would be okay for continuous load. So, but in this case, breakers are usually limited. So that's why we do the 125%. Okay? But very good, Jose. And if I'm not saying that right, I apologize. I think it's Jose. Jose. All right. Very good one. I like that one. All right. Y'all are getting too good. Too good. No, Gennaro, wouldn't be. Remember, you have to take it at a continuous load. So you had to do the 125%. Okay? Remember, the question was, what is the maximum? Could you protect it at, put it on a 250? Yeah. Chances are it might not hold after, because it's still going to handle the continuous load, which is only 240. But because it's a continuous load of 240 and you put it on a 250, there's a good chance that 250 is not going to hold over time. All right. Next, you had to remember the Gennaro, you had to remember that's continuous load, and you got to do the 125. All right, luminaires installed under metal corrugated sheet roofing. You know that roofing that looks like, that type of thing. Shall be installed and supported so there is not less than blank clearance from the lowest surface of the roof decking to the top of the luminaire. 1 inch, 1 3/4, 1 1/4, or 1 1/2. I think some people have already given me some references up there. A couple of them haven't given me an answer, but they gave me a reference. Okay. So, again, I like to help us find these things in the code. So one of the things that I would go and say, okay, well, luminaires. We're talking about a luminaire, but we're also talking about how far down from the decking to the top of the luminaire. So I might go look in my code book, and you can do it with me. Go look up luminaires and see what it is. Luminaires. People say, why do we call it luminaires? Because that's a European language for a lamp. I mean, not a lamp, excuse me, a light fixture. But we don't call them that anymore. We call them luminaires because it's just, that's what we do. So, because the NEC is kind of a harmonized standard. It's used all over the world. All right, so let's go and see if there's anything under luminaires. I'm under luminaires, and I'm going to just see if I've got anything in here. Let's see here. I like looking. I like learning. I like trying to find it and see if I got places I can find it, because you got to remember, some people are going to need to do that when they're looking in the code. So, and let's see here. I see supports. All right. I don't know that I see anything under the luminaires that would draw my attention. So it might be another, but I don't see anything specific that would draw my attention. You guys, that you have somewhere that it draws your attention. Remember, again, this is for people that are learning as well, right? So because you're learning, you want to try to dissect the question. Now, this one might be, I can go to 410 and start bold scanning, and you've heard me talk about it. Go to where you know you need to be, 410, and you start looking at the bolds that has something to do with what? Triggers. Triggers are roof decking, metal corrugated sheet. You see that in there. You can hit those bullet points pretty quickly, right? That type of thing. So, again, we're going to look, and, I don't see anything in luminaires that trigger anything. So I might look. I don't reckon I see anything. I missed something. No. So I'll look under roof decking. I can't imagine that would be anything there. But, the whole purpose, when I say to people with a study with a plan, this is what I'm talking about. You want to try to see what in that question might be able to utilize the index. And again, it's not going to be the Holy Grail. But you want to get used to dissecting it. So in this case, I'm thinking roof decking. So I'm going to go look and see if there's anything under roof decking. And you're thinking, well, Paul, why do I want to do all that? I just go to 410. You're studying for an exam. You don't want to be in a hurry. You want to go study for a purpose. I don't think anybody in this industry has ever taught it the way I teach it. And that is to dissect the question. To be honest with you, you pay good money for these questions, whether you get them from me or from somebody else. Freaking use them, okay? Use them. So, roof decking. So, it looks like that I've got roof decking. Is an actual under the index. And it says luminaires installed in or under 410.10F. Whoop, whoop, whoop. All right. So, you could have gone to 410 and hit the bolts, or you could have gone to the index under roof decking and you would have seen that it is 410.10F. So we're going to go there. 410.10F. So 410.10. Whoop. Went too heavy. So if you were bold scanning, just so let's kind of for craps and giggles. If I was remembering, so that's something I teach people. Use what's in the question. Roof decking. Okay? All that type of stuff that's in the question should be triggers. So when I get here under 410, I'm looking. No, has nothing to do with it. No, has no roofing. Nothing. Luminaire location, wet, damp, corrosion, duct, nothing. Uh-oh. Roof decking. Ding, 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 ding. Oh, and then real quickly, because you're on an exam, you're like, oh, this is one of the answers. So immediately, you're not in the exam, you're not trying to learn the code. When you're in the exam, you're using what's called bold scanning, looking for key triggers from the question. And I see corrugated in there and all that. Now I'm looking for what are one of the answers. The answers are actually asking me inches. And here I see 1.5 inches. So that's kind of, and I did that all in less than a minute probably, if you think of the scope of how you would have done it. And you got to be proficient. But in this case, I would have gotten here and I would have said, boom, right there. Question. There it is. 410.10F. Boom. Moved on to the next question. Okay. Y'all did good. Very well done. All right. Let's do this question. Given. Okay, so we're giving you some stuff. We're giving it to you. It says, you have determined a conductor has a computed, okay, you could say calculated, allowable ampacity of 75 amperes. They're already doing it for me. Good, thank you. Now it says, what is the maximum standard ampere rating of the overcurrent protected device the NEC permits to protect this circuit? assuming it is not a motor or a part of a branch circuit supplying more than one receptacle. So it's not a motor. It is not part of a branch circuit that's going to supply more than one receptacle. How do you size it? What is it? 80, 70, 85, or 75? What is it? All right. So we got one answer on the board. TJ, thank you. And hopefully you get something out of it tonight. We do these every week, and you always can, during your studies, you're free to make sure you can, if you run into something when you're studying and you want to bring it to class, bring it and type it. You can actually type it ahead of time in a Word document. And when you get here, so that if you guys, if you ever want to do that and you want to come to these classes and you're working on a question and you're like, oh, I don't want to type this thing out. Put together during your studies a Word document and type your questions in there. And then you can cut and paste it in here. It does have a limited number of characters, so be aware of that. But paste it in here, and I'll try to answer your question for you. That way you don't have to type it all out if you want. That's one way to, during the week when you're studying, you can bring your questions to class without having to type it all in. You can cut and paste it, okay? And you can even cut it and paste it in pieces. That's perfectly fine. Okay, all right. So it's 75 amperes. And we want to know the maximum standard ampere rating of the overcurrent device to protect this circuit. Again, it's not a motor circuit. And, okay, and it is, or it's not also not part of more than one receptacle. Okay, that's probably significant. And I have some references here. So we want to actually going to go to the code. All right. All right, so we're in the code. All right, so we're at overcurrent protection, and you've got a lot of seeds. So this is talking. People posted D. I think some people, I believe, posted D, or maybe not D. I hope not, because that's small conductor. I see one person did post B. Okay, so the overcurrent device rating is 800 amps or less, and their conductors are not part of a branch circuit supplying more than one receptacle. Okay, so we're good there. All right, and of course the motor one pretty much had the motor one has reference to here when it's talking about A through G. Because you do have the motor application, which is, kind of one of those things that falls under G, specific conductor application in 430 right here. So mainly, the main thing we want to deal with the fact that it says next standard overcurrent device rating above the ampacity conductor being protected shall be permitted to be used provided all the following conditions apply. Okay, so there we go. So with that all said, and I did see another code reference in here, which is important because we got to know what the breakers are. So we got to go to go there as well. So both of you two people kind of hit some good stuff here. So we're going to do 75 times. You say we have 75. Are we going to times this by anything? Did we talk about any continuous loads or anything? Are we going to do any multiplication or anything? No. So what we're going to do is ultimately, in this case, 75 amperes, all of the calculations have been done in this question. That's why it was a given. Okay. So all we're really going to do is go to 240.6a. And then if it doesn't correspond, what we just saw in 240.4b lets me go to the next size. So let's just go to the NEC. Believe it or not, one of those questions that I would probably expect on an exam because that's kind of something that you got to do every day. So again, 75 doesn't appear here. Okay, let me get rid of this. But the next size up is 80. So we're going to go up to the 80, right? So we'll go back to our question and we'll choose 80. And that's kind of the logic train that we were on. 240.4 B1, 2, and 3. And ultimately, we're going to be at 240.6b. So if you've never done the Fast Tracks program before, this is part of your question database. There's a lot of questions that are going to be a lot tougher than this, and they're called the competency review. There's some tough questions. That's part of your reading material. This is part of the database of to kind of hone you. So if you're in the Fast Tracks program, you should be doing at least one exam at the bottom of your program, at least one a week while you're in the program. So do your course material, and then you need to do at least one of these a week. Even if we've already gone through it, doesn't matter. You need to do it. You need to get proficient. And remember, look things up. Don't be in a hurry. When you get down to, and people listen to my podcast about reducing stress before an exam, because I talk about the stages. But when you get down to the last point before your exam, okay, you then will start timing yourself. But until then, take your time, dissect the question, make yourself go look things up. Even if you know the answer, go look it up, quantify the reason you have that answer. Why do I say do that? Because when you start your exam, you're going to have that first wave. And in that first wave, you're going to answer questions that you just flat out know. Well, we don't want you to do that now because you could be wrong. We want you to quantify it, verify it, so that you build this knowledge. Then when you're in the exam and you're doing the 3 waves that I talk about in my other podcast, then when you're answering it, you can answer it with some confidence. And you're not going to answer it and then go, God, is that right? Oh, God, is that right? No, you know it. You have confidence. And you need to always go to an exam prepared. The only way you can go into an exam prepared is to study with a purpose. And how many times you've heard me say that? Study with a purpose. Okay? All right. Very good, though. Next question. As a general rule, when size 4 AWG or larger insulated conductor enters a panel board, cabinet, or enclosure, which of the following must be provided? Okay, so just in general, a insulated bushing, a bonding jumper, a insulated grounding conductor, or a grounding clip. Now, this one you could guess, and you could just say, I don't do security questions. I'm sorry, Randall. I just do NEC. So, so the general rule when you're sizing a 4AW and larger should be the trigger. And it's definitely dealing with panel boards, cabinets, and enclosures. All right. So you're thinking, okay, well, something that we have to do is we don't always need a bonding jumper. We don't have enough information. Okay. It might be a feeder that we're dealing with, and I wouldn't need a bonding jumper because I use a lock nut. It was perfectly fine if it's for the feeder. Whereas if it was for the service, it might be different. Because it might be whether I'm encountering concentric or eccentrics, then I have to have bonding jumpers. So it's a general rule that wouldn't be applicable. However, an insulated bushing would be applicable, okay, to all of these applications where it entered it. Now, one caveat that I'm going to throw out there, just because the question is kind of an ambiguous question. It says, as a general rule, when size 4 or larger insulated conductor enters a panel board, cabinet, or enclosure, which of the following must be provided? I want you to understand something, that this makes it's kind of making it sound like this applies to all types of that enter into a cabinet, panel board, and enclosure. The insulated bushing only applies to raceways. It does not apply to cable assemblies. Okay, so I get this a lot, and I see an awful lot of pictures, and let's go on and answer this so I can finish up my thought here. Okay, 300.4G. The reason I want you we're going to talk about this, okay, is because you got your code book. Let's go to 300.4G because I see this an awful lot. And again, even though people do this, and it's okay, it doesn't necessarily, it's not a requirement. So this rule question right here could be a little misleading, only because it says in general, and that's fine. But what if I've got an SE cable or an MC cable coming in? Okay. And I see pictures all the time of SE cable coming in, and they put on it an actual insulated bushing. Okay. You can do that if you want. It's not required. So here's G. Okay. It says where raceways. Okay. So I'm going to save you $1.75. Heck, I don't know what those insulated bushings cost that you're using on your SE cable that are coming in. I'm not sure. But I'm going to save you some money. Cables aren't raceways. Conduits and tubing are raceways. Wireway is a raceway. Auxiliary gutter is not a raceway. MC cable is a cable. SE cable is a cable. This rule doesn't apply, okay, except to raceways, okay? Does not apply to cable assemblies. So, but if you want to continue to do it, by all means, go for it. It's perfectly okay. But that rule is only required for 4 or larger of insulated conductors. Another interesting thing, the insulated fitting also is required only for insulated circuit conductors. It wouldn't apply to uninsulated, like grounded uninsulated equipment grounding conductors, or uninsulated or bare grounding electrode conductors and things like that. Wouldn't require it, obviously, for obvious reasons, right? So, kind of how we dissect the code and look at it and see what it applies to. In the field, if you want to continue to use the, for like SE cables on the connector, that's fine. It's not going to hurt anything, obviously. You can always go above code, but I just think it's important that you know, right, that it's not a requirement. Because that's what we do here. We try to straighten all those things out. But can you do it if you want? Absolutely. Go for it if you want to use them on any type of cable assembly. All right. Incidentally, you asked me the reason why you don't, because usually it's a listed fitting, and the way it's positioned in there, and MC cable requires a binder. AC cable requires an anti-short bushing, which MC does not. So again, the potential for damage and things like that is typically built into the requirements of the code. So there you go. All right, next question. And we'll probably end it on this one because it is 9 o'clock and nobody's posted any questions. Well, I do have a question real quick while y'all are answering this question. As when it says greater than 480D, does it, I'm not sure the question, retype it again. When it says, so when the code says, for example, it says containing 4 or larger, okay? So 4 or larger would be a 4. The next would be larger than that would be a 3, a 2, a 1, a 1/0, 2/0, 3/0, 4/0, 250, 300 kc mil, 350, 400. All those would be 480G or larger, okay? It doesn't really say greater. So even if the question had said greater, it's just the people that wrote it and they didn't follow the code exactly. Maybe they don't want it to be word for word, so they say greater. But it's really 4 and larger. But it's anything 4. And remember how the American wire gauge goes, right? 4, it doesn't seem intuitive for the numbers to get smaller, but then the conductors are getting bigger, but that's just the way it goes. Okay. So answer the question though, Jose. Oh, you did answer it. You didn't say A, B, or C, or D, but you did good. Yeah, so hopefully, that answered your question. Hey, Terrell, thanks for coming. Why, boy, you just came in, Terrell, and you already have a question, and it has nothing to do with what we're talking about. I don't understand the question, Terrell. Why can't you use 20 amp recept circuit? I'm not sure I follow you. We're not doing it. We only do exam preps. We're only doing exam preps on Wednesday nights. Electrician Live has nothing about exam prep. That's just an industry show, and we gotta. Oh, I should announce it again. Oh, I should announce anybody. If anybody wants to donate to the super chat tonight, I'll draw your name for one of these to get sent to you. Doesn't matter what your donation amount is. I'll put you in the drawing and get you one of these. We also have some neat flashlights coming. Those are awesome. And we have little books coming, too, that we're going to be doing for our donations. So if you appreciate the stuff that we do, the free content and the education we do, and you want to donate to help the cause, cover the shipping and things to the stickers and things that we do, you can donate during the super chat. That's that little money symbol. You can donate and help us out. Or you can go right to the website. And on that website, you can get the flashlight, you can get the screwdrivers, and we'll soon have the little ledgers. Those are going to be awesome with our logo on it. And you make little notes of code violations in them. Or use it for your studying, making notes during our class. Okay, so again, you can do that by making donations tonight. We'll draw a name if you donate the super chat. Or you can go to the website and donate directly if you want to get one. All right, so, But I wanted to announce again that our co-host is none other than Jay Grundberg, and he's been in here before. He will be my new co-host on Electrician Live on Saturday evenings. So excited about that. I've tested his equipment out. It runs great. All right, Terrell, I'll answer your question in a minute. Let's end this one, and then I'll bring it back, and we'll try to answer your question. And then Cayenne, I'm sorry, Cyan, I will answer your question as well. So let's finish this one. So when branch circuit conductors supplying a luminaire are contained inside of a ballast compartment and they are within 3 inches of the ballast, the conductors shall have a temperature rating of at least blank, 75, 60, 105, or 90. Okay. So we know that this is dealing with luminaires. Okay, that's one of our triggers. If you've watched my show that talks about how to find triggers, for the trigger here is dealing with the ballast. It is branch circuit conductors. It's inside of a luminaire, and we're looking for, now 3 inches is very, it's in the question, so that could be a trigger when we're scanning. But first thing we want to do is we want to go, if we didn't know, we're going to always assume we didn't know. You could go to luminaires 410, and you could hit all the bolts until you find something that has to do with ballasts or compartments or that type of thing. Or we can go to luminaires and we can just see if there's anything in luminaires. Ballast. Okay, we have ballasts supplying fluorescent luminaires. Okay, and that is 410.138. So I'm just looking. Okay, I'm trying to show you how we use the code. So I would write down 410. And I would write down 138. Might not be where I end up, but I'm going to write that down. Okay. And then I'm going to look and see if there's anything else that might put me somewhere that I need to be inside of under luminaires. And now there is fluorescence. So this one talks about ballast. So you might know that it's fluorescent. Okay, and it does give me some information that tells me to go see fluorescent luminaires. Okay, so it does give me that. But I'm going to look down and see if there's anything else that might be beneficial for me, because that's what we do. And I have, so then you got, there's something that says, that's not going to be helpful. So I've got wiring 410, and it looks like part. And that, I believe that is part 6. So I can write part 6 down. Okay, so there. The next thing I want to do is it did make reference to fluorescent, okay, which typically is what you get with a ballast. So I'm going to go look at fluorescent. Remember, for those that came in late, this is how we study. We're not here. This class on Wednesday night is not for me to just regurgitate code for you. I know the answer, but you have to tell me how to look it up. And I'm showing those that are trying to learn the code, and everybody's at a different level. Trust me, I do a lot of tutoring, and everybody's at a different level. So we want to show you how you would utilize the NEC to get better. Now, once you get better and you put that time in, you study with a purpose, then when you go into the exam, then you know how to use everything accurately, and you'll be okay. So I'm going to look under fluorescent luminaires. So that tells me, and then I'm going to look down, and I see something that says ballast protection. Okay. And I'm looking down, and so, okay. And under ballast connection of, I see something that is, in my mind, I see something that says connection of. That's at least going to get me somewhere I need to be. Remember what I always say. The index is the table. The index is not the holy grail. It's to get you somewhere where you need to be. Okay, so I'm going to say that I'm going to look at protection. I'm going to try to get around section 62 is where I'm going to start in 410. All right, so I'm going to go to 410. The triggers for me, though, are ballasts, okay, and that type of thing. So I'm going to go down and the other trigger for me is branch circuits. Oh, incidentally, just for craps and giggles, one of the triggers is talking about a branch circuit. I just want to look real quick and look under branch circuits. And you've probably all realized by now what I do when I have you do this is the more you look up the different key terms, the more you working out of the index, the more you get familiar with the index. So I'm going to look at it and look down and see if there's anything in here that has anything to do with it. And it might not. But I'm going to look. Because I want to get familiar with everything that's in here. Now, and I don't see anything in there that would be beneficial to me. Okay, so we'd be hitting the bolts. Now, the one thing that was critical for me is that you remember in the back when I said that it said luminaires and then it said the wiring, and that was in part 6. Okay, if you're going to use a bold scanning technique, you want to limit the amount of stuff that you have to scan. Since we're talking about wiring, okay, conductors, wiring, then I would have gone to part 6 and shortcutted me a little bit. And then once I get there, I would be scanning the bolts. Okay. And as I scan the bolts, I get down and I see, and I could do it on the screen for you, but we'll just scan the bolts with me. And it looks like I get down to feeders and branch circuit conductors and ballast, 410.68. It says feeders and branch circuit conductors within 3 inches of the ballast shall have an installation temperature rated not lower than 90 degrees C unless supplying a luminaire marked as suitable for a different installation temperature. And it didn't say anything here, so it has to be at least 90 C. It could be higher, but that would be based on the actual luminaire markings, right? So I agree that the answer is 90 degrees C. And there's 410.68. So that's the beauty of this program. For those that aren't familiar with it, there are literally tons of these exam questions in the Fast Tracks program. There's the root video that I'm talking about. It's already embedded in here. And then, of course, when you get finished these, you have some journeyman, masters, and residential. You should be doing all of these by the time you're done this program. Okay? But again, if you're not using this program, there's other programs out there. Just my advice to you, folks, is just study with a purpose. You with me? Just that's the key thing is study with a specific purpose in mind. and that's going to be beneficial for you. All right, so let me get back to answering these questions before we end it up. And Tyrell had it first, and he says, why can't you install a 20 amp? Hold on, let me pull you back out here. Why can't you install a 20 amp receptacle on a 15 amp circuit? Okay, so this is a rule in the code that I'm going to take you to, and you can look at 210, and we'll look and see why. Very common question. So I'm going to take you to the code, and then I'll explain the thought logic behind it. Well, the easiest question for me to tell you, Terrell, is, and you know, the easiest thing for me to say is because the code doesn't let you. Right? I mean, that'd be the easiest thing for me to say. So here's the table 210.21b3 receptacle ratings for various size circuits. So here it says 15 amp, and it cannot be over 15. Now, incidentally, the guts inside of a 15 or 20 amp device are exactly the same. The faceplate is different. So the faceplate on a 15 amp receptacle, as the grounded and ungrounded or slots are going vertical. And when you get with the 20, then you've got one, the neutral, that's actually a T-shaped, okay? There's a little slot in it. Okay, so the reason that the 15 amp receptacle is rated for 15 amp circuit, and while the 20 amp circuit can have a 15 or 20 in it, is because if I have a 20 amp rated device and I pull 15 through it, it's not going to hurt anything because the maximum rating is 20. But if I have a 15 amp device, okay, and I don't want to pull more than 15 amps through it. So again, it's limiting the amount of current that can go through that device, other than the fact that also a lot of this more than likely has everything to do with the listing, okay? So the reason I can't do it is because if I put a 20 amp device on a 15 amp circuit, then somebody will try to pull 20 amps out of it inadvertently. They will always try to do that. And if they do that, yes, the breaker is limited to 15. But if it's a situation where, depending on the type of load they're putting in it, over time, breaker might not trip right away. It might take a certain length of time, maybe for an overload condition. And if that's the case, it's not going to trip under short circuit or ground fault. And under overload, it might take some time. And that time might be a problem because now it could cause the insulation value on the wire to exceed the 90 degrees C, and it could burn up, and it's not really protecting everything that's associated with it. So easiest answer is that. And the other reason is, if you'll notice above that, okay, and you'll notice up here, oops, hold on, right here, this deals with cord and plug, and all those receptacles are going to be cord and plug, that a 15 or 20 amp, so either 15 or 20 amp circuit rating, if it's a 15 amp receptacle, then it's going to limit it to 12 amps of load. But if it's a 20 amp circuit and it's a 20 amp receptacle, I'm allowed to put a maximum of 16 amps on it. So 16 amps would exceed the rating of the 15 amp circuit. So these work in tandem. So again, 20 amp circuit, you know, I'm okay with the 15. It's not, you know, not a problem with the device. Internally, they're actually identical, okay? Don't know if that answered your question or not, but the easiest answer would have been, easiest answer is that's what's in the code. But yeah, it has all to do with the ratings, the testing of the devices, and the amount of current that can be placed on it. You're going to put cord and plug things in it. And again, a 20 amp circuit and a device that's rated 20 amps, does it matter if 15 amps are pulled through it? No, doesn't matter. If it's a 15 amp device, will it matter if you pull something higher than 15 amps through it? Yes. Now, in theory, is the device inside of it made identical? Yeah, they are. Okay. But you didn't know that unless I told you that. And I didn't know that until the fact I work for NEMA and one of the manufacturers told me. What I do know is we'll charge you more money for the 20 than the 15. So we do know that. But hopefully that answers that, Terrell. Next question is, what's your thoughts about working clearance in front of a 45 kVA transformer, required or not? Okay. Another great question. Another one that gets into my opinion. And we all know that I am overly opinionated. So let's look at the code real quick. And let's look at the requirement 110.26. Okay. So space around electrical equipment. Working space. That's your question. Working space for equipment operating at 1,000 volts nominal or less to ground and likely, let me underline this word, likely to require examination, adjustment, servicing, or maintenance while energized shall comply with the dimensions of 110.26A1, A2, A3, A4, or as required as permitted elsewhere in this code. Okay, which elsewhere means if you've got limited access, and that's under A4 or anywhere else, like for duct heaters and things like that. That's later off in 424, I believe. Okay, so this is what the code says, right? All right, let's talk a little bit about it. All right, so under 450, you're now required to have a disconnect on the primary side. And if you don't have a disconnect, you got to put a label and tells you where the disconnect is. So we have some rules. All right. That's a disconnect. That's overcurrent protection as well. And that protects the transformer on the primary. That's what that's for. Okay. All right. So in this scenario, think about the transformer. Do you need to service it after you install it? Once it's made up, it's done. There's no moving parts. Now, people will say, well, I might have to do maintenance. I might have to go back and vacuum it out or clean it out. I got to open it to get in it. Okay, if you're going to make that argument or your jurisdiction makes that argument, then, again, this requires maintenance, and you would do that. Now, the question is, do I require it to be to meet this clearance if I'm going to examine it while it's energized? Do I have to do it while it's energized? That ends up being the question that you have to answer. So if I have a disconnect upstream, now people say, well, I got to check the voltage. Well, ask yourself this. Can I not check the primary voltage at the disconnect that's going in? Yeah. Could I not check the secondary voltage at wherever it terminates, the secondary conductors terminate into? Yeah. Determine whether or not I'm getting out, whether my turns ratio is right, secondary and primary. Could I do that? Do I necessarily have to go into the transformer? No. Now, people are going to argue otherwise, and that is perfectly fine if they want to argue otherwise. But I'm going to argue that I don't believe a transformer requires the working clearance unless it's likely to meet the requirements of 110.26, means that it's likely to require examination, things like that. Now, with that said, it typically does not get, as you see here, it says examination, which could be an inspection, adjustment, servicing, or maintenance. If wherever they're installed, if they have a maintenance program that goes around cleaning them out and they don't want to shut them down, or maybe it's a transformer that's being used in an application where it has to stay on all the time, or something like that, maybe it's supplying emergency power or it's doing something, then it might need to stay on all the time. So every incident's going to be different. So again, on an effort to be wishy-washy, you have to look at these situations. A normal dry type transformer that I would put somewhere, let's say above a suspended ceiling, it's not greater than 50 kVA, and I'm putting it up there. I don't think that once it's installed, once everything's done, the inspection's going to inspect it without it being energized. They're not going to open it back up once it's energized. Okay, they're not going to, they did a rough end. They looked at it. I don't think that it has to require the working space. Now, per the code, you're going to have clearance for ventilation and all this other stuff that you've got to have. But I don't think transformers necessarily have to meet the working space. unless you can tell me that it requires examination, adjustment, servicing, or maintenance, okay, while energized. Because if you tell me that I got to test it while it's energized, then I would say, do you really have to? To be honest with you, you could test it at the primary side to make sure voltage is coming in, and you could test it at the secondary. That way you know voltage is going through, okay, magnetic coupling is taking place. So there's other places that you could test it, right? So again, I could make an argument that I don't think that it requires this application for transformers, okay? That's just my opinion. All right? Some people feel differently. I know some inspectors that will say, no, it's got to have ready access. And in my mind, I'm going, do you really think that while energized, you will ever need to get in there again? Ever? Well, you got to get the dirt out of it. Come on, man. I don't know. I've known transformers that have been installed for years. Nobody get. And if I was going to clean it, I ain't foolish enough because of lockout, tag out rules. I need to de-energize it. I'm not going to try to clean it out and stick crap inside of there with live parts while it's energized. So I'm going to shut it down. And I'm going to shut it down at the disconnect that's on the primary side, and that's going to shut it all down. So again, I'm a believer. You don't need the working clearance for those. Okay? There's many of other places you can test it. Okay? But some people disagree with me, and that's okay. Some people say, no, Paul. You know, so again, Cayenne, I don't know that I can give you the most definitive answer. Again, it's just my interpretation. But I don't think a transformer meets that threshold. I don't. That's just me. All right, any other questions before we call it a night? It is 9:30. Y'all stuck with me for 7 till 8, 8 till 9, about 2.5 hours. So, again, if anybody has any additional questions, we will call it a night and bug out of here. And thank y'all for coming. So, listen to Electrician Live on Saturday night at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, where we introduce Jay, give him a warm welcome when he comes in. And I don't know that anybody. Okay, we do have some donations. So don't leave if you donated. Okay, hold on. Oh, Ronbo, I do not know why it requires all of your posts to be clicked to show you're here, buddy. I'm gonna have to figure out what's going on with that. I didn't even see you in there, my brother, because for some reason I'm looking at them now. It's requiring me to click show on everything. I don't know what is going on with that, my brother, but I will go back and try to find out what that is. I apologize. I'm not doing it, I promise, on my end. All right, so I need to do some drawings here. All right, so we got Ronbo. All right, so there's Ronbo. We've got donations. We have Gustavo. Gustavo donated 20. Thank you, Gustavo. So there you go. There's yours. And we got M. Abrams. Hey, he's in our fast tracks. So we got M. Abrams for donating tonight. Thank you for the support for the program. And we've got, all right, so that's it. That's the three we have those in. So, all right, here's what I'm going to do. If I don't blind y'all with my bald head, I'm going to take each one of these. I'm going to crumble them up. Throw one in there. There's yours, Gustavo. I'm going to crumble that up. Throw that in there. And I'm going to take this, Ronbo. I'm going to take yours, crumble it up. Throw it in there. Okay. Anybody else? Any takers at the end? All right. So here we go. For those three here, I'm going to shake it, shake it, shake it. Shake it up a little bit. Reach in here and grab one. I got one. And let's see who the winner is. Ronbo. There you go. Ronbo. And I actually think you got one the other night, Rombo. So I don't know if you want another one of the screwdrivers to come to you, or you want to hold out and I'll send you one of the flashlights. You let me know, and we'll do that. So again, I've got everything, Ron, and you should have one. Actually, your screwdriver is already on the way because you won last time. Okay, but again, there's no limit to how many you win. So, Ronbo, you're on the list again. So we'll hold this one, and I'll send you a flashlight instead, of course, unless you want another screwdriver, because everybody's loving the little screwdrivers. So you let me know, and I'll send you whatever. And then, so anybody else that wants one, all hell. Gustavo and Abrams both gave a donation of $20. So you're going to get one anyway. So Gustavo and M. Abrams, you send me emails at info@masterthenec.com with your address, and I will send you one. Okay? So I will send you one. I'll send you both of one because of your donation. I'm going to send you one anyway. So go on, and send me that to info, and I'll type that so you all know what it is real quick. info@masterthenec.com, and send me your address for M. Abrams and Gustavo, and I'll see that you get one of these. They're awesome. All right. That's it. Yeah, we'll save you for the flashlight, Ronbo. And again, sorry, I don't know why. I should have been monitoring it, and I do not know why you're the only one that it's, for some reason, I don't understand why it's doing that, and I apologize. Type something else, Ronbo, and so I can see if there's some setting on here when I right-click on it to get rid of that. And let's see. Cayenne, okay. Hold on, Ronbo. Let me see what I can. I have no idea why it's doing that, Rombo. Oh, you got some shirts from our Electrician Pride? Cool. Thank you. We appreciate the Electrician Pride stuff as well. We have a lot of stickers over there. We got some new stickers coming out. Y'all have seen them that are going to be coming out soon. So let me put this back on because I'm sure I'm blinding all of you. Let's see here. I have no idea why. It says, you know what it says, Rombo? It says, these features can be disabled in your settings. I'm going to disable them. Hold on for a second. Bear with me. Hold on. Hold on for a second. Okay. There's another moderator is handling this. I have no idea what that means. Anyway, I'll try to sort it out, Rombo. I don't even know what it's doing in this. It says another moderator is handling this. There is no other moderator on my channel. All right. I have no idea why it's doing that, my brother. But anyway, you've never been a bad boy. You're good. So I don't know what it's going to. I think maybe I've turned it off now. Sorry about that. I'm sorry, you folks out there who are having to listen to me rant on about this. All right, I think I fixed it because I didn't have to approve that one, Ronbo. You're good to go. All right, so I've got it all fixed. I'm sorry. I don't know why that was doing that. Let me come back to the main screen. All right, so make sure y'all send me those emails and with your addresses, and I'll get those out for you. Let's see, Randall. There you go. Yes, I've got it fixed, Ronbo. You were the only one that did that too. They were singling you out, bro. That's profiling, and that's just not right. Do other states require security, fire alarm, and cement mixtures, or is it just Florida? Some states, Randall, do require some fire alarm. I think, for example, up in Ohio does. Texas doesn't. It's purely code. Sometimes you have state law, and you can get that in a little booklet. And some of them have OSHA, but they give you that information, so it's not really anything you got to study. But some do have security, some do have fire alarm, and usually there's pretty simple stuff that you can do with that. I don't teach any of that. Now, I can answer fire alarm questions if you have them, because I do have knowledge of NFPA 72, being an engineering examiner for years. And I did fire alarm a lot, but I don't teach it because usually there are not enough questions on that to make or break an exam. It's usually NEC based and is more than not. So, but yeah, I just don't teach that. There's probably other avenues. I will tell you this, that you can get through our partnership over on Electrician Pride. And over on My CE Depot. Let me see real quick if that is the case. Hold on. In case any of you've ever done this before, let me go over to the browser. Wow, that looks terrible. Hold on for a second. Bear with me. Hold on. Okay. Over here on my, portal, let's see, Florida. Electrical. Exam prep. So you've got business and finance, you've got the residential contractor, and you got unlimited. So we do have a partnership over here for your business and finance. And of course, I don't know which one you're going after, but let's just click on this one. And if you see that's a pretty expensive package. Okay. But this is also going to send you all the books. See, it's going to give you the contractor's manual, the OSHA. Here's your fire alarm signaling, and it's all utilized during the course. And it's an online course. Okay. That is about as much as we do when it comes to that. Okay. So that's the unlimited program. Okay. If it's just residential, then it's $600 and some dollars. And this will cover the OSHA stuff, which I don't really think you need. 1926, you can get that for free. There's your NEC. There's some stuff that's life safety. There's your NFPA 72 and everything here. All part of the package. Again, this is the book only part of it. So you'll get all the books. Okay. So you get them. So they have that's the way it would do there. So that's preparing you for the exam. All right. So we do have something for partnerships here. Let's see here. Let's do electrical, and let's do. Well, that was the exam prep. So that's quite expensive, but that's all books, right? So that's not really. I don't believe that's a course. I think that's all the books that you can read to study for the course. But I don't think that's you probably buy all those books individually and it would cost you that much. So it's not necessarily a course. Okay. So you're probably going for the unlimited. So there you go. Unlimited. You have all the books. Yeah. So the NEC, you study with like we do now. The other stuff, I really, like I said, there's other people that probably offer courses on 72 and all that stuff. I just don't get into it. It's not my thing. But good luck. You'll have no problem with the electrical portion. The other stuff, now I'll answer a question if you want to send me a question. If you're learning something on fire alarms and you're kind of stuck, you can holler at me and send me something. I'll help you out. But other than that, the OSHA stuff's pretty easy. That's not a big deal with that stuff. All right, any other questions? And I'm glad I got that solved, Ronbo. I don't want to get you blocked out, my brother. Can't have that. Oh, one other thing. Hold on, guys. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. Hey, so I've got a video that's coming out, and I'm still editing it, but so much is going on here. I got a video that's going to be coming out talking about, this is one of Ronbo's products here. And, you know, I grew up driving ground rods with sledgehammers and back in the day. And then, of course, we had the pipe, you know, the fence thing, putting it in the ground, doing all that kind of stuff. And then, of course, we migrated to hammer drills, and you got to buy the end because you don't want to put the end of the ground rod into your hammer drill because it mushrooms or could mushroom and it could cause some damage and you can't get it out. So you buy the attachment, and that's all fine and dandy. But you don't want to drive your real expensive attachment down into the ground. So once you get to about a foot or two away, I find it's something like this with a big. Now they make some other ones that have the little round ends on them. It's still hard to hit. And so with this one, it's really flat, and you can't, and it's some thick steel. You can't miss this thing. And even if you did miss it. So basically you put this over your ground rod and you're going to drive it that last foot, when you start getting it down to the ground. And again, you've heard me talk about cupping out the dirt, cupping it out and then driving the ground rod and this all the way until try to dig out. I would dig as deep as this length here with your shovel, and then put the rod in the middle of it, and then drive this until this right here gets driven down flat with the earth. Okay, now technically in the code, you're supposed to drive below the frost line. Nobody does it. They just drive it below the surface. So this thing right here is, I don't know what they cost. Ronbo sent me one of these, and I can tell you right now, if you're going to still drive ground rod, I get a helper, throw this bad boy on a helper, and I use the hammer drill till it gets down to a certain point. Then I don't want my hammer drill to get down into the dirt or anything, or even the extension. So one of these are great to have in the back of the truck. Throw it in there, throw it on top of the ground rod, and just have that helper just whack away at the top of this thing. Okay. The other thing is that you're not going to damage the end of it with this. So if it's down in there and everything's good, chances are you're driving with this, you're not going to damage. The other thing is, if somebody's got to hold the rod, then you run the risk of missing it. And there's still a lot of contractors out there who don't have the hammer drills, who aren't using that to drive it in the ground, and they're using sledgehammers. See it all the time. Well, something like this is great to have. Now, again, what I like about this one is the way Ronbo and them do it. It is a big surface area. Not the small rounds, not the one that's supposed to look really pretty. It's stainless steel. It goes over with the little round end. I'll still miss that daggone thing. Why? Because it's usually not wider than the sledgehammer. Well, with this one, I can promise you this area is much wider than a sledgehammer. So you put this thing over it. It's got some hefty weight to it. Drive this sucker down, and you don't run the risk of missing it. You also don't run the risk of hitting somebody's hand. Now, granted, I'm still not going to hold it because I've seen some people swing a sledgehammer, but it allows me to be able to take a large pair of channel locks and connect it directly under here and then hold it while somebody's driving it and they don't have to hit my hands. I can tell you stories where people have tried to hold it while somebody's driving it, and you can't get a full swing on it. With this, you should be no problems getting a full swing on it. So if you're interested in one of these, contact Ronbo. I'm sure he'd be more than happy to post an email address or something in here to reach out to him. If you send it to me, I will see that it gets to Rombo if you're interested in one of these. I have no idea the cost of these, but I can tell you right now, it's a hawking piece of metal. It's not going to break up on you. And the weld on it's actually very, very nicely done. So I don't know who does them for him. But again, you can spend a lot of money on other things. But I mean, good. Always nice to have that last foot that you want to drive right here. Now I'm doing infomercials, Randall. I'm doing an infomercial for Ronbo's ground rod driver. Okay. But there you go. I also found another use for this. Actually rebar, sticking over the end of rebar, and driving the rebar. Okay. So, anyway, there you go. $29.99, but wait, there's more. Now, I don't know. You have to talk to Ronbo. I have no idea what the price is on this bad boy. So, Ronbo, you can let everybody know. Okay. All right. I wanted to just talk, let you know about that. Again, if you want to donate on our website and get one of these, or you want our new flashlights that are coming, they're going to be pretty cool. I've got one as a sample that it's actually in my safe, and I'm not going to go open my safe, but they sent me one to see if I wanted to get them, and it's neat because the light will strobe or it will be solid. It's got 3 LEDs, and it goes great on any metal surface. Okay? So, anyway. So, there you go. There you go, folks. It's right there. He has 50 being made right now. Costs around $20 plus the shipping. Can't beat that. Throw it in the truck. Give it to the helper and say, go at it, buddy. You're not going to use my expensive hammer drill. Plus, some people don't want their hammer drill. You have to stick a block of wood under the trigger, and it sits on top of the ground rod, and it sits there. And I don't know. Is that what you want to do with your expensive? I always got my hammer drills, the bigger ones, at Harbor Freight anyway, because I didn't care if they blew up. But if I've got a nice DeWalt or Hilti or something like that, maybe I don't want to leave it sitting out there. That's what we got helpers for. Let them use this and go drive that bad mamma jamma. Okay? So anyway, information is right there. You can get in touch with Ronbo and he'll hook you up. It seems like it would cost more in the metal than that, Ronbo, but hopefully you're making something on it there. All right, so donate on our website. You can get these, or you can get the light, or the new little notebook will be on there soon. Okay? That's it. People have called me Billy Mays in the past because I talk real quickly. Or I'm the ShamWow guy. ShamWow. Anyway, check it out. There it is on the screen. What you need at yahoo.com. You get in touch with Rombo. He'll hook you up and get you what you need. All right, but look for a video coming out on this soon. I do have one I'm working on that I actually will go into a little more detail about ways that I think you could use this and some other things you could do with this. Because again, this is a flat side. Okay, so anywho. All right, till next time, folks, stay safe. God bless. I appreciate you all. Be safe. Guess what I did? I hit the wrong button again. God, I'm such a dork.
You've been listening to Electrician Live with your host, Paul Abernathy.